Welcome to the Money Show, your one-stop destination for everything personal finance. I'm Kavita Thapliyal. So whether you are just starting your financial journey or looking to sharpen your money game, we are here to help you make smarter decisions with your money. From decoding investment strategies and breaking down complex financial products to helping you plan for major life goals, we simplify finance so you can focus on building wealth, securing your future and living life on your terms. In every episode, we bring experts' insights, real stories and practical tips to help you take control of your financial life one step at a time. So let's get started and make your money work for you. And this show also has a very special segment where we get connected with our viewers and do their live financial planning on the show. So just in case you're watching the show live and want to get your portfolio queries answered live from our experts, all you have to do is just send across your question on our WhatsApp number, which is 8657974571, and the email ID is themoneyshow@etnow.tv, where you can send across your questions. Okay, so let's begin. And a heartbreaking tragedy that has shaken the nation, and Air India plane crashes, claiming not just the lives of passengers on board, but also innocent students on the ground. While the emotional toll is immeasurable, incidents like these also have behind a long trail of legal, financial, and insurance questions that, concerns each one of us, especially in a world where travel is becoming increasingly common. Today on The Money Show, we take a closer look at the aftermath, not from a political or emotional lens, but from a consumer's perspective. What happens to your travel insurance in such a situation? How much liability does the airline, really bears? And how fast does compensation come? What role do international laws like the Montreal Convention play in securing justice for the victims? And what about the students and bystanders, on the ground? Who pays for their loss eventually? This is not just about one crash. It's about the rights of every passenger, every family, every citizen who puts trust in aviation. An insurance company assesses claims, reinsurers calculate the risk, and legal systems begin their process. We ask here the real questions today. The questions that really matters to the consumers, because when tragedy strikes, the fine print shouldn't become a burden. It should offer clarity, support, and dignity. So let's begin. I have with me Sajja Praveen Chowdary, Director, Policy Bazaar for Business. Sajja, hi, good evening, and welcome to the show. Let's get into the details and nitty-gritty of travel insurance and the coverage. How does standard travel insurance typically cover incidents like this kind of a crash? What specific benefits or exclusion should travelers be aware of in aviation disaster scenarios?
See, generally, when we speak about travel insurance, most of the times the industry or customers, they speak about international travel insurance, because domestic travel insurance, not many people buy individually. So in an international travel insurance policy, there's a sum insured that you get, or a coverage value, what you speak about. It generally covers up to that value, whether it's a $1 lakh or a $2 lakh that you take, or a $5 lakh. That's a limit till which you can claim under a hospitalization. In case you've gone abroad and then you fell sick or an accident and you get hospitalized, that's the amount that you can claim up to. Having said that, then there are sublimits within this policy which come into picture when, in case of an accidental death, or in case of a death that's happened during flight, or else, in case of loss of passport or loss of package and all. So those are the things which you should be careful about, I would say, when you're looking at a travel insurance policy, because there are a lot of insurers who provide different plans, and every plans have different features which are available or not available between when you compare plans that you can observe. So some of the plans would have a, say, $10,000 or a $20,000 sum insured capping on an accidental death, which might mean in this case, depending on that, you get either 10 lakh rupees or a 20 lakh rupees that the family gets, because most of the people in this case are would fall under the category of accidental death. Then comes a situation like, in case of these situations when death happens or when someone is hospitalized, then there's a person companion who can travel and then be with you. The tickets cost, whatever the ticket costs are also taken care under travel insurance. Some of the plans do cover these, and some of the plans even cover things like, repatriation of mortal remains, which means, the person who's passed away, getting their body back without too much of hassle and taking care of those costs and all. So there are multiple features of this nature which differ between each plan and the other. So it's important that when you're trying to take travel insurance, you compare between different plans, and within insurance companies also multiple plans exist, and then choose the plan which would kind of, give you a comprehensive cover, because it hardly costs anything. So travel insurance plans, unlike what people might feel, or, can start at, say, roughly 300 rupees or 500 rupees also for a 3-day trip or a 5-day trip to any country within Asia. and they would cover up to say a lakh or a lakh and a half $1,000 worth of medical expenses and accidental expenses and all of that. So these are very cost effective, and people should definitely look at that when they're traveling abroad, especially. And in the case of domestic, generally people really don't buy themselves, but what we have seen is that corporates do buy for their employees, and especially those who are regularly traveling, kind of they do take an annual domestic multi-trip policy, which would take care of any kind of these incidents in case of a domestic travel.
Sajja, are there differences in coverage for domestic versus international travelers in such cases?
See, generally, what happens in domestic policies, there are a lot of policies which are also available for retail users. But what we've seen is most of these plans are, in order to be priced better or effective, kind of. There's a lot of coverage that is put across, in terms of delay of a flight or a flight cancellation, or in terms of anything that might happen with baggage, and not much to do with the amount of cover that you will get in terms of hospitalization or accidental death. So the value of coverage substantially decreases in terms of death or a hospitalization in a domestic versus an average travel insurance plan that is taken by international travelers. Otherwise, the ones which corporates take for their employees in terms of annual multi-trip domestic travel insurance, those can be customized. And in that situation, it depends on the corporate, what is the kind of coverage that they want for their employees. And that can be easily taken care of, even if they want to take a higher cover in case of hospitalization or accidental death. So that's how it is. So the corporate one can be customized, and it depends on the corporate. But in the case of domestic, yes, the domestic ones generally have a lower coverage for death, or no coverage for death or hospitalization, and mostly focus on the airline delay, airline flight cancellation, or the baggage as such.
Sajja, what is the expected financial impact of the Air India crash on the reinsurance sector? Also, because you're an industry veteran, could this incident lead to changes in underwriting practices or premiums for airline insurance? What do you have to say?
See, what is being expected or quoted at this point of time is roughly about 1,500 crores of entire claims amount that would flow out of whether it's the hull loss for the airline, or any other liability losses that might come up either under the Montreal Convention or outside of that, on ground liabilities and all of that. Having said that, the majority of this is part of the airline hull, as well as the liabilities that would come under Montreal Convention. And what's expected is that, or what's seen generally in these cases, is that 95% of such losses are ceded, or 95% of this risk is ceded to the reinsurers. And hence, from a reinsurer perspective, yes, that's a major loss that would come on their books. But having said that, in incidents like these, or in situations like these, or in policies like these, we also see reinsurers also have a retrocession thing in place, which means they also offload some part of the risk to other entities, so that it's absorbed globally, kind of. And this is something which would have happened already, which means out of this, say 1,500 crores, if let's say 95% or 90% going to reinsurers, and that to multiple reinsurers, and again, out of that, again, 1,000 crores would have been, having moved to other entities globally, kind of. So it is not a single reinsurer which would take a hit. But yes, obviously, given that what has happened, there's a hit that you will see reinsurers take. And ultimately, that will lead to, given it's not about only one incident that's happening here, right? I think in the last few months we've heard also of certain crashes across the globe, a few crashes across the globe, and then there's the entire Russia-Ukraine war which is going on, and then there's this Iran-Israel war which is going on right now. There's certain impact. There's a certain impact that aviation sector is going through because of this. So as a result of all of these, we are expecting that yes, there'll be price impact and underwriting impact will happen in the coming year. Definitely, prices would harden for sure, not only on the Indian carriers, but obviously on the other carriers as well. Coming to the specific thing that you're referring to in terms of, let's say, apart from price, the underwriting criteria. Yes, if the report were to say after investigation anything around maintenance, or anything around specifically about the engine kind of thing, or anything else specifically about the parts kind of, I think that would lead to more of parameters getting into underwriting, or more of parameters getting to be decided by insurers and reinsurers as we move forward.
Sajja, also let's understand the airline liability over here. Under international and Indian aviation law, what are the primary liabilities of such airline in such a crash? Also, do you think it depends? The airline liability actually changes depending on the cause of the crash. Maybe for example, a technical failure or a human error. How can you look at it?
See, generally under the Montreal Convention, right, these are pretty standardized across the globe in case of international flights. In case of international flights, there are clear-cut written guidelines around how much is to be compensated to whom in what situation. For example, in case of a death of a passenger due to such situations, that clearly, I think roughly it's about roughly 2 lakh US dollars is what the value comes out to, which means about 1.8 crore as per, roughly approximately as per the current exchange rate, is what is to be paid out to the passenger or the families, basically, or for those who have undergone death kind of situation. Similarly, there are similar subsections for baggage and other cargo and other categories as well. But I think we are not speaking about them at this point of time. So this is predominantly basis irrespective of whatever has happened. Now, coming to the other situation that you're speaking about, let's assume in case tomorrow the regulatory or the government authorities report does say some kind of lapse on anything else. Let's assume tomorrow it comes out to be about parts, about what the manufacturer is giving, or some kind of negligence on someone's part. Then obviously that is that automatically under the Indian law or the country's law, it would or whichever country that passenger is, because I think in this case there are also some international passengers as well who were there of other nationalities as well. So basis the law of the country, I think the way a liability claim or a liability suit would come up, that is what this will take course. Or the course would be kind of, where people would be able to claim or people would demand under that category of a third party liability, or where there's in case of any negligence or something is seen kind of. But at this point of time, I think till the time that report or anything comes out of that nature, the whatever coverages are there would be under the regular Montreal Convention. And for those on the ground, yes, it's a third party liability, a regular third party liability, which they would be able to claim from the airline through insurance. Yes.
Sure. We would also like to understand, the compensation pattern for people on the ground. Now, what legal protections or compensation mechanism exist for non-passenger victims, such as the students on the ground?
See, a couple of things. One is these people would either have, some of them would have individual policies, or some of them would have certain policies. Like today, for example, on the group side, there are organizations or colleges also who take group policies for their students, or for the members who are part of that college, right? So these are things which come from personal perspective. But when it comes to the other side of it, obviously from a third party, this is an incident where third party liability triggers in, and the liability policy which the airline would have would cover these kind of claims or suits. So the people who would have lost their lives or some damage that would have happened to property, yes, in such kind of situations can claim these from, or put these claims across to the party which has affected them, which is the airline in this case. And generally the airline also, knowing Air India or Tata Group as such, they would have done their due diligence, and their third party liability policies would be in place to take care of such liabilities or issues as such. So they can definitely ask for a, how do you put it, whatever the compensation that they think is should be taken care of, and the policies will take care of such things.
Also, who bears the responsibility for ground level damages, the airline, aircraft manufacturer, or the government? Are there precedents for such compensation claims in previous aviation disasters? Any idea or any background on that?
See, in the past also there's certain crashes which happened. I think the Kerala one and the other incidents which have happened, there's certain precedents of claims which have happened. Having said that, in this case, the crash that has happened is primarily at this point of time, airline is the one which has kind of crashed into this, and certain lives have been lost, and certain property damage has happened. So the primary, I think the one which would go to would be towards the airline at this point of time. Unless tomorrow certain, if something else comes out from, say, the manufacturer side or something, then obviously the airline also would be claiming that back from the manufacturer or whatever that they're taking care of on the ground today. And basis whatever has happened in the past, the airline is the one which first comes in the line of defense. And I think looking at what the Tata Group has announced or Air India has announced, and they're being proactive also in terms of at this point of time they've announced to the passengers, and I think they would be taking care of this as well.
All right, I think with that, we've covered the crucial aspects of travel insurance, one should be keeping in mind. And also for the general information, it's very important to know, looking at these kind of disasters, how to be financially secured going ahead in terms of having the right kind of insurance. Thank you so much, Sajja, for being on the show today and helping our viewers with this. All right, time for a quick break, and post that, let's get connected with Gautam Kalia, who is the guest on the show for your financial portfolio queries. Just in case anything about any financial goal that you want to ask, need guidance about, all you have to do is just send across your question on our WhatsApp ID, and 865-797-4571, our WhatsApp number, and the moneyshow@18now.tv is the email ID where you can send across your queries.